oh man, there's old cars in there. But there were two cars in particular that got my interest. A gentleman called us and said, I'm interested in those two cars. And that's the gentleman that we're Zoom conferencing with today.
When I took that engine apart, there was no teeth left in the timing gear.
Well, if you're a longtime Barn Find Hunter viewer, you may remember it was the first year and we started off in Las Vegas and we just drove the Woody through Nevada into Arizona. We spent maybe the better part of a week on the road. We're in a town that looked like the kind of town that would have old cars. And so I went maybe driving to look for a coffee shop or something, and I passed this old building and stopped. It was the kind of building that probably was a repair shop or a car dealership back in the day. Kind of find a spot to look at, like, oh man, there's old cars in there. And as I remember, there was a sign out front for lease maybe or for sale, and I just called that number. Maybe I got a realtor or something. That led to talking to a gentleman about the old cars in the building. Some cars that got my interest, some cars that didn't get my interest, but there were two cars in particular that got my interest. They were parked kind of next to each other. Big block Camaros, 68s, both 396 cars. They both needed restoration, but they were really solid starting points. All right, so we said goodbye and went on down the road. Well, not too long after that episode aired, a gentleman called us and said, I'm interested in those two cars. And so we put him in touch with the owner, and that's the gentleman that we're Zoom conferencing with today. Could you please introduce yourself and tell us where you live?
Yes, I'm Greg Garson. I live in Silver Lake, Alberta, Canada.
Tell us how that whole thing happened.
Well, as you know, I found these cars through Haggerty. They wouldn't give me Cliff's number, but Haggerty gave him my number. Cliff gave me a call, and so we chatted a little bit on these cars, and I said I'd take both of them, send them a deposit, and end up taking both cars.
One of the cars Cliff bought brand new. Was he at all hesitant to get rid of a car that he bought new in '68?
No, he didn't seem to be. No, I guess it was time to let the cars go. And when we talked about it, he knew that I was gonna restore them. But he was very happy that I bought both cars and I was going to get them on the road.
And so that car he bought new, the second one, what was his story? How did he acquire that one?
The second car, I believe he bought that car for parts, probably for the car. It was exactly a parts car. There was some parts already missing off it. The dash cluster was missing off it. And as time went on and the cars increased in value, he decided, well, maybe I won't be using it as a parts car.
Yeah. The cars are both factory 396 cars. And I think, as I remember, they both had air.
They're both 396 factory Air 400 Hydro Raleigh Sport Super Sport cars.
Pretty well identical, other than the blue car has the deluxe interior and the red car has just the regular black interior.
Okay, so the red car was a black car in the video. Is that right?
Yes, it was. Actually, that car has been painted more than once. That was originally a Matador red car, R6 Matador red with a white vinyl roof. As we were taking the paint off, the whole car was stripped right down to bare metal. There was actually a kind of a maroon color underneath, a metallic maroon, and then black. So it was actually been painted twice afterward.
And the other car was it original paint?
That's original paint. It's still original, the teal blue. Yeah, you can tell that it's never been touched. And I don't think there's been any major damage to that car other than what the front end was, the hood that was smashed and the fender that I've now have repaired.
Tell me about matching numbers. Did either one of them have the original motors?
The blue car has the original block and crankshaft. The heads were lost at a machine shop and was sent out. They were missing for some reason, but I am slowly gathering numbers matching parts for that car, though. I have a set of heads off of another car that I own, and I've got the intake for it, and I've got a water pump and alternator and all that stuff I'm building for that car. So I'm trying to put it back together as a numbers correct or parts correct car.
Cliff's car, he bought it new. It had the original factory motor. The other car had a replacement motor. Is that the way it worked?
Yes. When I run the numbers on the red car, it had a 396 out of a 67 Chevelle. And actually, I don't know if that engine was ever in that car running, because when I took that engine apart, there was no teeth left in the timing gear.
Oh.
Yeah, it was. I think someone dropped the engine in there, and I don't know what the intent was, but I don't know. It was the engine mount was broke and it was off to one side. And unless that happened from the accident.
So is that the block you're going to work with, or do you have another?
Well, actually, funny story. My neighbor across the road was talking to a gentleman who had a couple 396 for sale, and I went and looked at these engines, and I brought them home. And the one block is a CE block, which is usually a warranty replacement block.
Yeah.
And it not only that, it is a 1969 block. So if that car had an issue with a warranty issue, it'd be even the right block that would have been put in it. So I'm using that as that story.
You're doing just about all this work yourself. I mean, bodywork, paint. How about it? Mechanical? You're doing everything?
Yes, I'm doing everything except for radiator work. I don't do that, and machine work. I can't do that. But I'm a heavy duty mechanic, so the mechanical part is simple for me. That's second nature. My brother was an auto body mechanic, so he's taught me how to do body work. This is my third project I've done, my third paint job. I've got a 1946 GMC COE cab over and a 1939 Chev pickup I've done.
And those are both original cars?
Yeah, they're I did them stock original. Well, the 39 pickup, I put a 261 engine in it, and you can get a set of 355 gears for them. So I did that. Otherwise, they're all.
Yeah. So the red car, have you gone through the suspension? Has it been up in jack stands and you put new sway bar bushings and ball joints and tie rod ends and all that stuff?
Oh yeah, the subframe was off completely. I had subframe off. I sandblasted it, painted with Enduro paint, epoxy paint. All new bushings, all new tie rods. Everything's been done to the front end, so it's like brand new. I did some welding on it. You wouldn't believe back in the 60s, some of the welding that they did from the factory wasn't all that great.
Really?
Yeah, one side actually didn't look too bad. The other side was horrible. They missed stuff and it wasn't welded the same. And so I cleaned it up and ground it down and did some welding on it to get it a little better shape.
When do you hope to have the red car completed?
I'm hoping that I'm driving it this summer.
Oh.
I've owned them now since 2017. Did a bunch of work when I first got them. Then I put it on hold because other things come about. Like this shop you see here, I just built these in the last couple of years. I needed the space to work on these cars. So now I've got the room and the space. So I'm hoping that I'll be on the road here this summer. One anyway.
You'll go gangbusters on the blue car.
Yeah. Well,
is it a couple of years in that car, do you think?
You know, the blue car, I'm not sure what we're going to do yet. Like my friends of mine are telling me just to get it running the way it is and leave it like the patina, the primer and stuff on it.
Oh,
a lot of that, it's a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
Or I might just do that, or I might put a paint job and get it running and drive it the way it is and do the interior. And maybe a later date, strip it down completely like I did this one.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's hard to say. I haven't really decided which way I want to go with that car yet. Because I want to do a really good job in that car. So I want to take some time on that. So it might take me a few more years to do it that way. So if I just get it running for now and drive it around, it might be an option.
It's been so good of you to keep in touch with us, because in a perfect world, everybody that buys a car that we find on Barn Find Hunter would kind of keep us in the loop about how they're progressing. And you're the guy that's, you're the star student. So I want to thank you so much. And hopefully that'll encourage other people to stay in touch with us as well. So thanks for letting us into your shop for a while. And I hope we get to visit you, when the pandemic is over and we get to see those cars again in person.
You're quite welcome, Tom. I'll looking forward to seeing you.
Thank you so much. Have a great week.
You too.